And I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. Now they're going to therapy. They're going to rehab. Had to ask God for His mercy and grace. I'm so sorry. But I'm committed to be a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
All of these big dick deviants is all catching 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is, TG Jakes, any of them. All lies will be exposed. That's all.
So by now, everyone has seen the video of Diddy and his former girlfriend and what happened in the hotel about 8 or so years ago. The Bible talks about how what's done in the dark will come to light. Eventually, you will reap what you sow. And so based upon conversations that people have said on the record, the behavior of Diddy has come to fruition. I'm here to talk about what some people are using the Diddy video to project, to communicate, to gaslight, to misinform.
Social media that I happened just to see as I was coming to church. And the woman said to me, would you please pray for women who are living in danger in their own house? And there was something about the way she said it, and I know she's watching right now. There was something about the way she said it. It was a cry for help. And I realized something when I read what she said. As a father and as a husband and as a son and a mama's boy at that, when I saw the images that have been floating all over the news all week, it became difficult to watch. The atrocious, degrading, demeaning, debauchery. I know who it was, but I saw my daughters. As a man, I saw my daughters, and it made me angry.
I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times. 4 times. Just to protect my integrity, and that I was telling you about. Right. Because P. Diddy be wanting the body. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did.
So Diddy gave his apology, and some people are saying it's sincere, some people are not. I'm not here to say it was or wasn't. That's not my point. But a lot of Christians, namely Christian artists, have experiences with Diddy.
I've been to a couple Diddy parties.
It's always funny whenever you have these high profile cases like O.J. Simpson and Diddy and some of the other people, especially black men. It's always a referendum on misogyny or on the culture of the patriarchy in America. The latest example is Michael Eric Dyson. He was on Bill Maher over the weekend when the video of Diddy came out. And this man had the audacity not to say Diddy was solely responsible. See, these people don't believe in personal agency. They always think it's something else that is causing people to act the way that they are. They want black people to think that because of slavery, because of Jim Crow, we are oppressed consistently, that we're victims. So therefore, that justifies our illegitimate and debaucherous behavior. This particular instance, when Michael Eric Dyson was talking to Bill Maher, he wants to blame the patriarchy for Diddy's behavior. The poisonous patriarchy.
Just give us some context. No one's going to excuse it, nor should it be excused.
No, right.
But just try to contextualize as only you can, I think, why this kind of ferocity exists. I mean, because we are all a product of not just our own past as people, but our own pasts going back in time.
True.
In some ways, yes, and in some ways, no. You are predisposed in the sense to follow in the footsteps of people that came before you, genetically, environmentally, and culturally. But you have agency. You have the ability to say, no, I will not be a womanizer like my dad was, my grandfather was. No, I will not be an abuser of alcohol like my grandfather and my dad was. You have individual agency. God gives each and every one of us individual agency to make choices according to what we believe is best. It is called free will. We have free will. God has given us free will. It's up to us to utilize it. So while, yes, the sins of the father can visit the future generations, it doesn't have to.
Abuse, as we know, is cyclical.
Right.
So just give us the context there of what you think about this.
Yeah, I'm glad you put it in that context. It's very sensitive and understanding of you. Look, we know that we live in a culture of vitriol toward women. We know that we talk about toxic masculinity, but let's speak about the horrible
People always like to talk about toxic masculinity. They never talk about toxic feminism. They never talk about how women are out here intentionally emasculating men, intentionally attempting to dominate men, as Eve was spoken to after the fall. No one ever talks about that. Always how men are bad, women are good. Always. And it's simps like this guy are the ones that continue to perpetuate and project this propaganda. That's why this culture is becoming more and more effeminate. That's why men in this culture are becoming more and more effeminate. Because as you start to see, the culture is out of order. When you pervert the biblical order, you have chaos. And that is what is happening, especially in the black community. Chaos.
the horrible misogyny that exists in the culture, the poisonous patriarchy, and a man thinking that he owns another human being, another woman. And for what Diddy did, and let me be, forthcoming, I've interacted with him, I've talked to him and spoken to him. What we saw today was repugnant and reprehensible. It's inexcusable. And it's, some people would be tempted to say, well, this is the misogyny of hip hop. Look at it. 43, more than the regular population, 43% of those men who are domestic abusers are in female-dominated stuff like clerks.
That does not mean that hip hop has not played a role. See, people don't understand. You are a product of what you allow into your ear gates, your eye gates, into your senses, into your spirit, into your soul. And if you constantly absorb, if you constantly swallow it, if you constantly consume material that's meant to change your image of other people, and hip hop does that. Hip hop constantly demeans women, constantly denigrates women, calls them all kind of names. And when you constantly consume that, you're going to act that out because those seeds have been planted inside of you and they will bear fruit. Nobody's blaming hip hop solely for this, but the seeds that hip hop has planted has contributed to this by and large.
After that, the police and the military. After that, people who work in construction and so on. And after that, preachers and lawyers and so on. So before we get on our high horse.
Here we go. They got to denigrate the church somehow. They got to tear down the church somehow. He didn't have to say anything about preachers, but he did. That's intentional.
Get on our high horse and say, this is the bête noire of, hip hop showing its face. Preachers are beating the hell out of women too, and they're doing it physically and emotionally and rhetorically. So having said all,
and those clapping seals clapping in the audience. Oh, preachers are so hypocritical. Oh, the church is so hypocritical. They doing it too. That doesn't justify it. And how do you know they're doing it, Michael Eric Dyson? Do you have stats for that? You had stats for everything else you were using. Do you have stats when you say preachers are beating their wives and beating their women? Do you have stats for that, sir? You can't throw an ad hominem attack against people in the church without any stats. And I'm not saying that it's not occurring. It's wrong if it is. But don't equate what Diddy did to preachers because you're trying to equate the two because it all falls under the umbrella of the patriarchy. That's what you're doing. You're painting the picture that traditional values, biblical values, where the men lead is wrong. That's what you're doing. You're doing the exact same thing as Black Lives Matter. You want the matriarchy to be in charge. You love a matriarchal society because people like you are propped up. See, in a matriarchal society, you have a few of the chosen ones, the talented 10th, as W.E.B. Du Bois called them. And you're one of them. You have a black bourgeoisie mentality. You are privileged, sir, and you don't want to lose your privilege. So what do? You appeal to the black women, to the feminine energy that runs the black community so you can keep your position, you can keep your perch. I know exactly what you're doing, sir.
All that, it's horrible. And what we saw there, kicking that young woman while she's on the ground, dragging her, this is the express manifestation of a lethal inability to accept another human being as not only equal, but also understanding her worth as a human being. And to do that is propped up on every side in this culture, not just in hip hop, which has its own misogyny, but in the churches where I go, the synagogues, the temples, the religious orders, the political orders, all of that stuff is chock full of this kind of horse.
Wow, this man literally sat up there and equated churches, equated houses of worship with what Diddy did, all under this umbrella of misogyny. Like I said, he's one of the ones, the black bourgeoisie, that want to keep power in a matriarchal society and wants to keep black men in particular victim of a system that does not want them to achieve. Well, Michael Eric Dyson, I'm here to tell you, man, we're not victims. We are empowered for greatness.